You post every day consistently and still you cannot say which of the last month's posts moved anything for you for your real estate business.
Now, this gap is sitting in our fear column of, the plateau fear, and it builds up over years and connections that we didn't have. And by the end of this video, we're going to have a cloud skill that you're going to have for your things that will kind of relieve and take that pressure off. And that's the exciting part of Claude Code. We can build a skill and then we can have that skill consistently running for us. So once it's written once, you read your numbers and it hands you the answer every single time.
Exactly. Therefore, the same gaps that shows for the agent who stays visible because their referral depends on it. That's why we wanted to close that gap that we were talking about, that you can get more referrals from your social media post.
Now, there's basically going to be 6 questions and you're going to frame them in the way that works best for you. But these basic 6 questions, and the more you can define them for yourself, the better. But ask by your own numbers, answered for your own branding, run after run, time after time, starting from the moment you've actually finished the complete build of building a skill. And who is this for?
This is for you as a real estate agent that you're working in the business 2 to 5 years and still closing 6 to 8 deals, and you wanted your volume to start climbing. And what you don't have yet in years and the connection, that's why we are again here to help you, to get you out of that plateau after a couple years of doing real estate.
And it's also for those agents who are building trust in your own market, and trust shows up because you're online and in your referrals see that you're showing up online and you're staying visible, and and this is really important when you're doing relational. So let's go back into those 6 questions that I promised we were going to talk about. And again, these are just watered down versions. The more you can fully answer these questions, the more this skill will work for you, and that is the beauty of it all. So we're going to read what is the skill, and we're going to call it in English. Let's start with it.
Exactly. What is the first one?
First, you want to name a set of skills that you write, give it a name. We're talking about social media analysis. That's what I would call it. So I remember social media analysis. So if I would just type in social media and analytics showed up, I would be happy with that. And from then on, once it has a name, all the instructions that you're going to give to that name, you can update the skill. So it's not a one-time set it and forget it, unless that's, you build it the first time, amazing. I'm a vibe coder. I make mistakes. I recently made a mistake to where I told the fact checker to fact checks, and I forgot to say you need to actually pull the sources. So I caused a disaster. So you have to be able to go back into the skill, fix the skill, and then come up with better instructions. Like me, I had to say, hey, you have to cite the sources. You can't just call everything a fake. Exactly. So from then on, the instructions are following what you named it, and it's following without a fresh explanation because you already have the rules set. You're not writing code, it's writing code. You're writing down what you want in your own words for what you want done.
Exactly. Basically, Cloud Code turns it into something that actually runs with that plain, simple English that my wife said, wife coding, and keeps running on its own every time. And you can call it by any name that you want. Depends on what you wanted to do and how you wanted to remember it. A window you paste numbers into, answer once, and then right after that, it start running for you.
Now you can set the time of how you want this to set too. Maybe you want 30 days, maybe you want weekly, whatever it is works for you, that's your vibe. But basically, again, I told you, you're gonna make it a skill, you're gonna call it social analytics or social analysis, and you're gonna have that pull up every single time. Now let's talk about how we're actually going to build that skill. And there's a difference between a prompt and a skill. A prompt, you're going into ChatGPT, you have to remember to go to ChatGPT. A skill is going to run itself. So it's gonna run on a schedule, which I love. I love Crohn's.
Exactly. Therefore, you wanted to have that automation. Now, we wanted to talk about writing the 6 question and where the numbers come from. And now, basically, you wanted to sit down and write those 6 questions straight into the skills. And what are they?
Okay, so basically, again, write them in your own words. You'll probably write them better than me. I really broke it down into basics. But the first question of the 6 is do you want the account, is the account is growing? Would posting more get you anything new? And what time is it running at? Those really, really basic, beginning questions.
Exactly. The second question is which posts reach people who don't already follow you, and against the ones that only ever reach the same faces.
The third question that you're going to build in this skill is what a normal post act for you actually earns. So what is a good week compared to something honest against measuring instead of just your feelings? So you're stuck at this level. So any post that breaks that level, you need to know what those are.
Number 4 question is basically which post pulled real question instead of only compliments.
And 5th, which subject are people asking you about? What are the questions being asked? Is that actually something you can be posting about even more? Or is that something that feels easier to talk about because you're answering somebody's real life questions?
And finally, question number 6, what used to work quietly stop without ever announcing it?
Now, you can write it in more detail. You can write more thing. I really gave you the watered down questions. But basically, once these questions are actually built the way you want it to be answered, this becomes a standing skill that's going to run on a schedule for you. So you're going to get email that tells you the answers. You're going to get a text message if you want to go through your text message and you want to go through Bold Trail. However you want these answers questioned, or maybe these questions are going to your social media builder, so now they can see what works, so they can double, and then you've given the skill of that to double down on what's working and kind of go less on what's not working. Exactly. So you really, once you have the skill on repeat, it's repeating all the time, and that is really the kind of the point. It's one question, one paragraph. Claude Code is going to write the code. You're not coming up with all of that. You're just saying what you want, and it's not the strangers. You're not using somebody else's analysis. You're not using an industry analysis. You're using your own accounts. What works for you, what can work for you even more. And so it's running based on what you have, not what somebody else tells you should have.
And basically you name which platform to check, and whenever you actually post in that platform, so it never wastes and run looking at account that you don't use at all for your social media.
And this is even great now that I'm going direct with all of my social media. And I know I used to use Metricool, and now I'm making myself go off Metricool. I have a couple hiccups with this. It's an ongoing process, but now it can read even more on the platform itself, which I love. Now, the copies are never getting out of hand, and these are fresh pulls all the time, and this can actually help your other skills. So really, when it compares, every time you're running it, and that's a huge difference. When you go to ChatGPT, you go to Cloud, you go to Perplexity, you go like chat mode, you go to Gemini, you're asking a question. You might ask these same questions every single month already in a prompt, but a prompt is something you have to go in and physically type, and the answers stop once you get the answer. Now, a skill is going to take that and continually run the analysis, so you're getting fresh answers every single time it runs, and now it's actually feeding something else. So this skill says double down on X. Now you can double down on, and then your next skill says, we'll build more of X because you just told me to double down on X. So now it's seeing, you're building the chain of command. And that is great. So now you can really see what's working. And that is really the whole point of once you actually have questions that work. And I'm not going to tell you that it works 100% easy the first time you do it, because I told you, I make mistakes. Like I told you at the beginning, I forgot to put, you should cite sources when we're talking about a fact checker. So I said have a fact checker, and I didn't say cite sources. So you can see, you can make mistakes, I make mistakes, but we go back and say, hey, why isn't this working? What are you talking about? Oh, I forgot to say that part. So you can see once you have built it correctly, it's working for you every single time. And I think that's the beauty of Claude Code. Once it's sorted, it's sitting there. It's not just at the end of the response once you've gone into the chat mode. It's continually working for you. You're getting these answers all the time. So I'm not constantly going in and copying and pasting my prompts. The prompts are gone. Code is amazing. I know loops are like the new thing, and then after that was even more. So I love looking at graphs now, right? That's the new thing. So basically having that report, once it lands, you get to decide what you're going to do with that report.
Exactly. Therefore, basically some runs...
Once you have a skill and you continue to start seeing it run every 30 days, you can see what really is there important. It's not waiting for you to be asked to hold anymore.
Exactly. Basically, at that point, it doesn't wait for you to open anything first, and you open it when you are ready, and it's already finished, as my wife said. And we run actually a version of this in our own accounts that my wife was talking about, and the patterns that we were talking, it holds because it gets feedback and working every time that we basically run the codes.
Just remember, you have to give yourself grace when you're building codes. We all make mistakes. mistakes happen. You have to rewrite your mistakes and say, hey, why isn't this working? Sometimes you have to analyze why it's not working. Then you hit the nail on the head, like, oh, I forgot to tell you to cite sources, like that was mine. So you have to give yourself grace that you are allowed to make mistakes until you get these systems working properly. So I think a lot of people just get overwhelmed, and I feel like that's holding people back from Claude Code, and that is a big mistake because you know when something's working and when something isn't working.
Exactly. Therefore, do you want to add anything else?
Just having a great, these are just examples of skills. I'm building more skills all the time. I told you I'm getting rid of metrical slowly. I'm trying to weave my way off, go direct, because the really key is I can get more analytics that way, and really having that kind of way to look at the stuff really does help. And you can fix these things all in plain English. You don't have to speak code. I didn't, like we started at the beginning, I didn't know what a crone was. Now I love crone, and it's still not a witch, even though I still think that is what the name is for what I always think of. So once you have a skill, the skills now build themselves, or you can build better skills. So having your own skills that run automatically on a schedule for you, life-changing.
Exactly. We are Alan Victoria Pinder, Icon Agent with eXp Realty, and we are here to help you to level up your real estate business. Please go to the description below, grab an appointment with us, with Alan Victoria, and don't forget to watch all of our playlists. We are really dedicated to nail down everything about automation and skills with the different AI, especially Claude Code for you. And thank you for being here, and don't forget to subscribe in our channel, and see you next time.